Hey, welcome back to the Fortified Castle. Gonna have a fun video for you today. We're gonna be talking about how many knives do you need. I've been thinking about this a while, and we're not talking about whether you got too many in your collection, 100, or whether six is too many. We're not talking about how many knives you need in your collection. But I was thinking it'd be interesting. Just to answer that question, how many knives can you use? The different purposes of the knives, and how your average person can use more than one knife. And so that got me to thinking. I threw together this video. I think you're going to find it enjoyable, thought provoking, interesting, and I'm sure you'll disagree with me on a lot of the content. So, yeah, have some fun. Check out the video and tear me up in the comments. Hey, welcome back to the Fortified Castle. Hi, all my viewers. Bonjour, privet, guten tag, hola, ciao, konnichiwa. Good day, mate, to my foreign viewers. And I hope you all have an opportunity to get out and vote today. No matter what way you're voting, it's an important right, and you should exercise it. It's important to do so. And one of the reasons our government is as screwed up as it is half the people don't vote. So, power to the people. However, whatever side of the argument you fall down on, you should be voting. And that's a good thing. And so, without further ado, let's talk about our subject. So, how many knives do you need? Thought about that. I came up with some categories. And so I think you should have one of each one of these categories, and I'll explain why as we go through it. And the first one is small knives. So you're talking knives under 3¼ inches. This is a really attractive one. You could call it elegant. Some people would call it a gentleman's knife, and it happens to be a pen knife. Excuse me. Happens to be a pen knife. Really nice knife, but they have little tiny blades. They can be they can be rugged and well put together, but there you go. I couldn't find the hole. But they're just really handy for little tasks. And I probably went most of my life, up until about 10 years ago, I never had a penknife that I'm aware of. It's not saying that I didn't have small blades on some of the knives that I have. And they don't have to be fancy like this, right? So they come in a lot of different varieties. This is a more manly style penknife with some jigged bone on it. And this is my wife's. She is a chicken nut, and so I got her this backyard chickens Victorinox, and she carries this and another one. She carries a Kershaw around too, really pretty Kershaw. But this category includes like keychain knives. These are really, really tiny, tiny knives. But even as tiny as this knife is, let me see if I can get my. There you go. I mean, that is just a little tiny knife. The blade is remarkably solid. And so, back in the days, these small knives started out, they called them pen knives. They used them to sharpen quills, but they're just really useful. If you have kids, you really need one of these. You're digging out splinters, pieces of glass, other things that your kids get in trouble with. And nowadays, I keep one on my lamp table, and I keep one on my bedroom table. They even come in lockbacks, and so nowadays you might have, instead of the old style traditional penknife, you might have something like this. Again, this is a pretty small little knife at less than 3 inches there, but very substantial um, lock and blade. The thing I don't like about these is the blade still is pretty big, and there's just those little tiny blades come in handy. Here's an old traditional Congress actual, what we would call a penknife with blade at both ends. And then, here's a more modern little Harley Davidson. You can see, like, barely get 3 fingers on this. Very, very sharp. That I picked up. This little case actually makes this thing. Yeah. And then you can even get a switchblade in a little penknife. So this is a heck of a spring on this thing. Look at that. Just incredible. And yeah, you need a little tiny knife to do little tiny tasks. If all you have is a modern tactical folder, it can be pretty difficult to get those big blades in the tiny places where you may need to get to do some cutting sometimes. So yeah, everybody needs a small blade. Okay, next up is what most of us refer to as a EDC knife, everyday carry knife, or I like to call also just an everyday use knife. Is another thing that I call these knives start out at like 3¼ inches and go up to 4 inches. This is a medium-sized Stockman right here, but they come in a lot of sizes. This is 3¼ inches. I guess this would be the bottom size. It actually has a pretty big blade, but it's still kind of penknife-ish, and would be considered a penknife. But a lot of people just carry something this size right here. But traditionally around 3½ inches. Most of your old vintage knives are around 3½ inches. And if you look today, it hasn't really changed a lot. So you look at the modern folders today, a lot of them are in that 3½, 3¾ inch range. They do a lot more work than a penknife, and they can also do some small tasks like cutting sandwiches and little things like opening packages that you might need, cutting up some cardboard, just a variety of different tasks that we cross in our daily our daily task. And they're not tremendously strong, but they can be pretty strong. They can do a lot of work. So it's basically a medium duty folding knife. And I think everybody needs one of these, and maybe that's what they carry every day. This one right here, this buck, just is fantastic. This has become one of my favorite knives. It just feels great in the hand. It's very strong, durable, rugged, and just is a great knife to carry around. It's also light. And there's a lot of different options. If you like the traditional, this is a more modern traditional knife right here, a Rough Rider Reserve. And you can even it can be, a gentleman's knife. So this is a little lockback from Bear & Son, Damascus blade, nice natural bone here, highly polished and shined, and even has a pocket clip. Just a little tiny lockback, that'll do some good work for you. If you're just going out for the evening to a movie or something like that, partying. Of course, the Victorinox is kind of a perfect type of EDC knife. they're not tremendously strong, but they can do a lot and have a lot of capability. A lot of people like to either carry these or leave one as a vehicle knife in their vehicle and things like that. So another knife you should have is a medium-sized knife like this, something in between 3 1/4 up to 4 inches. Just to do a fairly light task during your day. All right, so the next knife you should have is a heavy duty type of knife for hard work. These are a little heavier, a little more rugged, and if you're hard working, um, in the trades or you like to hunt and fish, this is really the type of knife that you move to. These trappers are 4 1/8 inches and are at the bottom of these heavy duty folding knives scale. They go like 4 1/8 up to 5 inches. Sometimes they're over that. You can find examples that are 5 1/2. And initially, here's a 5 inch one. This is a case Daddy Barlow, and these were originally hunting knives, and so anything over 4 inches rarely had a name back in the day. If it was over 4 inches, it just people use those to hunt, fish, trap, out on the farm. A heavy duty type of knife. This is your case 65-35, right? Is that what that is? 35? I'll lose this all the time. But very heavy duty knife. I remember, 62, 65. I remember my dad was a contractor and I started going on to construction sites when I was 7 years old, mostly playing, but also doing whatever I could. My dad put me to work, and a lot of the guys carried these case knives in a pouch on the side, and just super impressive as a boy. Another one was the Buck 110, always on a construction site. Probably as many guys carried this as carried the case. This was really the grail knife when I grew up. When I was in my teens, this was a knife everybody wanted, the Buck 110. It wasn't exactly cheap back then, but super durable and rugged. Many people that hunted grew up skinning with this knife right here. And that's the whole idea about a bigger knife, is you're getting a lot more rugged and stiff, like this bow trapper from Rosecraft right here. I just love this knife. You get a full grip right there. It is just a great EDC blade, very acute point on it. Look how thick that blade is, and really a strong point. Even though it's very pointy, it's also really thick at the end there. And just a great little EDC knife. That's a traditional folder, but back in the day, pre 1940, you might have had a Coke bottle knife if you did a lot of heavy work, especially a cowboy or somebody like that working out on the trail. And in your modern folders, this Kubi is about 4 1/8 inches, and a little heavy, not quite as heavy as like your case or your Buck, but definitely heavier than this one right here. And really, that big blade allows you to do a lot of work, especially in the trades, but even around the house. These really come in handy for doing different tasks like cutting, plastic pipes and things like that you may have to do. Your ZT heavy duty folders, overbuilt, have become really popular all the way around. A lot of guys carry these really big folders. I think most people like to carry the smaller ones. But again, big knives like these were for really heavy work in the trades. A lot of your bigger knives in pre 1940, they were carried by linemen, oil workers. I mean, people doing really heavy work, and these knives were just well suited for that. And here's a lockback from Cold Steel. It's a Recon 1. I love this knife. It is hard to beat this knife. I mean, I've cut metal straps with this knife, and you can see the blades, the edge is in great shape. You can't even tell I've done it. I wouldn't recommend doing that, but the point is these knives can do it. Some people have batoned with this Recon 1. That's another thing I wouldn't do. It's not a good idea with a folded knife, but in a pinch, if you needed to do that, that's the capability that comes with these big knives. You got a really big, the Benchmade Dom is just an incredible knife. Very, very capable knife that's hard to beat up. I mean, these knives, they take tremendous abuse and don't break. And, that's the beauty of a big knife. I think everybody should have one. At least one big one. All right, so now I'm going to cover fixed blades. And that's something I think everybody should have in their inventory. Even if you live in Manhattan in a high rise, you should have a fixed blade knife for emergencies. But before I go through these fixed blade knives, just throw a caveat out there that we're not covering kitchen cutlery. So butcher knives, cleavers, filleting knives, boning knives, things like that. That's all part of kitchen cutlery. And even if you're 19 years old and you just get out on your own into your new place, you're going to go to Walmart and you're going to pick up a little kit that has all of that, all the kitchen knives with it, as well as steak knives, forks, and spoons. So I'm not going to go through any of the kitchen stuff. We're just going to look at fixed blades. And you need the same range in fixed blades as you had in the folding knives. And so you start out with the really small, what they call either neck knives or EDC knives. This one's from Cold Steel. I think it's a 3-inch blade. Let me see. It's not even a 3-inch blade. It's a 2 and 3/4 inch blade on this. I really use this I put it on my camp knife. It piggybacks on my camp knife, and I use it for small caping type of detail work. If I'm making a trap or just doing some bushcraft work or something like that. That's what I use this knife for. But I have carried this, and so I don't like neck knives. I don't like things around my neck. I'm always thinking about fighting, and somebody, I don't want something around my neck that somebody's going to grab. And anyhow, I did carry this on my belt. I used to carry it side saddle on my belt there. And this thing was, they're really handy. And, why would you need that over that, for instance? Which the blade is as big, but also a knife maybe like this, a smaller EDC knife that has a lock-in blade. Whether this blade locks or not, you still have a problem with that pivot. And I used to drive a truck, and I had these really thick, half-inch thick rubber mud flaps. And those things that get damaged, and you lose time and money getting that stuff fixed. So I would poke a hole in the mud flap, and I would use some heavy duty ties and tie that thing back onto the frame of the truck, so I wouldn't lose time um, getting things fixed. Very, very hard on a knife like this to poke it through very thick, hard rubber or plastic. Very hard on a knife to cut through heavy duty hoses and things like that. Even straps, it puts a lot of stress on the knife, and that's why you might want to have a small fixed blade. And so a lot of guys call these EDC fixed blades, and what they're talking about is a small fixed blade. And I think everybody should have at least one of these small fixed blade knives. Next up is your medium fixed blade knife, and so for me that starts at about 3 inches to all the way up to maybe 5 inches or 6 inches. 5 inches really, and I consider a medium duty fixed blade knife. These things can be incredibly strong nowadays, especially nowadays with the thicker blades and the better metals in them. This is Stag, but they have all kind of thermoplastic handles that are just remarkable. And this is a small one right here, and would be a good EDC knife too, but really got this for a skinner, a small skinning knife, and I just love the Stag on it. But here's another one, a Benchmade. I think it's Saddle Creek. I think that's the name of this knife. It's not on the blade. I think that's what they call this. I bought it a long time ago, but I've done a lot of woodwork with this knife, and it just has performed great. And I think that's a 4-inch blade on it. Yeah. So it's 4-inch blade. A little over 4 inches. Just a great little skinning knife. You got a cutout here. I don't think I've ever used this for skinning, but I have done a lot of woodcraft with it. And so they start, around a 3.5, 4-inch blade, and I think would go up to 5 inches. And this is one of my favorites. This has skinned and has been out in the woods. This is a Bravo 1.25 from Bark River in Pinecone, and these are just great skinning, great hunting knives. And that's really why you need a medium fixed blade. Not only that, a lot of heavy work that you do around the house, even they come in handy. This would be probably the upper limit. I think this is close to 6 inches. It's 5.25 inches. Another little hunting camp skinning knife right here, and just in the 1070 steel. But these things are just really. It's a really good size to carry. So they don't usually poke up into you. They're a lot easier to carry than a Bowie knife. You don't really need a Bowie knife. This is all you need in the camp and for skinning and for most purposes. Really the only thing they're not great at is a knife this size is not great at batoning, for instance. And next, the last category in the end of the video. And finally, your heavy-duty fixed blade. So your heavy-duty fixed blade, for me, starts at 7 inches, 7.25 inches, and goes all the way up to 13 inches. I have some 13-inch knives. I don't really carry them. I do carry a really big one, though. I think it's 10. I think it's 10-inch blade. But so these are great utility knives. In the Marine Corps, this is Cold Steel's Leatherneck. It's an updated version of the K-bar. Really like this knife. I have not used this a whole lot. I have camped with it and had it out. Usually keep it in my bug out bag, but you could, you know, mainly in the Marine Corps, we use these to dig with, right? Dig in the ground, help dig a hole in the ground. So, but also cutting straps, chopping wood, and other things like that. And of course, the main purpose is self-defense. What this size knife would be for, but certainly, in the if you live in Manhattan in a high rise, 32 floors, you should have something like this. You never know what kind of natural calamity is going to happen that you'll be reduced to protecting yourself with this, and or using it to survive with. And so those are really important. And then they get really big. Some guys do carry these and use them. I've seen guys who hunt elk and use this same knife here, and just love it and rave about how good it is. I've not used this. This kind of grail knife for me, so I don't need to use that, and I don't. But it brings a whole new capability. You've got good boning and quartering strength there for large game. And primarily that's what you're thinking about on a knife this size. But also a good camp knife. And so this is one I have used a lot. About 70% of the time that I went out in the woods, I've got this knife either in my pack or strapped to it. The Cold Steel Trailmaster. It doesn't really matter. I mean, there's the K-bar and a lot of different makes of a similar type of camp knife that people like. And this thing has just been an incredible knife for me, and I just love it to death. It's really not that heavy. The type of sheath it has, you could either lash it to your pack, or you could put it down inside, or hang it on the pack. And it has a lot of versatility to these knives. And the blade is just hair sharp. Even though I've done a lot of chopping with this in heavy duty camp work, you can see the blade right there. And that's the main purpose in a big knife like these. Back in the day, now mountain men would use this also for self-defense, but mainly for bigger tasks. Might have done some skinning. I know, probably quartered with this knife, but usually I think you would skin with a smaller knife. You can use this for skinning. I've choked up like this and gone like that. It's not the best skinner, obviously, though, because it's just too big. But it excels at work around the camp, cleaning off branches so you could set up a shelter, and making tent poles, whatever. Whatever you have to do, these things excel, and I think you should have a large camp knife like this. And what is the size blade on here? I think it's 9 something. Yeah, it's a 9 1/4 inch blade on this. So I think these are about the same. Yeah, they're about the same, 9 1/4 inch blade. So I do have a bigger blade, but this is about as big as you need here. 9-10 inch blade for a camp knife is just good enough. Sometimes I do carry this on my side. You feel it when you carry a knife like this on your side. They're big. If you're hunting and carrying this, it's going to get caught on briars and branches, and that's why I usually just put this in my pack or on the pack, and break it out once I set camp. So that's about it. That's your every knife you need. All right, so wrapping it up, I'll just review every knife you need. Basically, 6 different knives. You need a small pen blade type knife. Those little tiny blades just come in great. Uh, Handy. They're very handy. A medium type of folding knife for everyday carry, everyday use. Light, easy to handle, not very intimidating. Not going to scare everybody. And then a heavy use folder, especially if you're in the trades. You need a big heavy knife like this to use. And then on the fixed blade side, same thing, a small little fixed blade for EDC use. A lot of people just carry these knives on their belts. And then a medium use one, which is basically what you're going to use most when you go out hunting and fishing, is a knife this size right here. Bushcrafters, are going to use a knife about this size right here. And then also a large fixed blade knife, which is great for the capability they bring for camp chores, building shelters, survival, various different things like that, as well as self-defense. So that's my list of knives you should own. Everybody should own at least 6 knives. That's the bottom line, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Thanks for dropping by and checking out the channel. I'm almost done with this knife I've been refurbishing. I'm putting new scales on it. I've discovered that this knife is a lot older than I thought it was. I broke the scales off, and in the pick on the knife, the toothpick on the knife, the end of it was broke off, so I couldn't get it out. And I didn't know what it looked like until I broke that handle loose. And once I pulled those scales off, that pick was a genuine tortoiseshell. Just a phenomenal knife. This knife. Wait do you guys see it after I've got it done? I'm going to work on it again today. It is taking a lot of time to work with the handles, mainly because I have to hand groove these areas where the pick and the toothpick and the tweezers go down in the knife, and they have to be done right. And so I basically got the knife prepared, ready to go to put the scales on. But that's what I'm doing right now is grooving out these areas. Then I'll put the scales on and finally fit the scales to the knife. It will be the last step probably that I do, and then I'll show that. That should be done at least by Friday, right? should be done tomorrow, but at least by Friday I'll have that done. So that'll be a really interesting video for you. So thanks again. Thanks for all your support. I know I haven't been putting a lot of videos out. I've been sick the past couple weeks. I'm not doing the live show right now. That's on hold. While I try to figure out where I want that to go, what I want to do with it. I may drop it from every 2 weeks down to one a month, or I may do a different format where we just do something live, spontaneously. I don't know, or I may not do it at all. So I don't know where I'm going to go with that yet. I'm just thinking through the options. So thanks again. And thanks for checking out the video.